Oh boy, we've talked about a Brian Robinson Jr. trade to Miami all week long, and the rumors continue to heat up. This coming in from Rickey Scoops, who has been very on point this offseason. He was the first person to mention the Steelers for Jalen Ramsey. He was the first person to say the Dolphins would trade an All-Pro, referring to either Tyreek Hill or Ramsey. So when he says something, I do listen, and he mentioned the Dolphins as the Frontrunners in a Brian Robinson Jr. trade with the Commanders on early Thursday morning. I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. It wasn't the only team he linked to a Brian Robinson Jr. trade. He also mentioned the 49ers, the Texans, and Cowboys, but as we just showed, it would be, according to his report, the favorite to be the Miami Dolphins. And I do think this would be a very smart move for Miami. Robinson is entering the final year of his rookie contract. He's had 3 successful seasons after being a third-round pick out of Alabama for the Commanders. He had his most efficient season a year ago. I don't think it's contract related. It's more or less just the fit and the Commanders moving on in a different position with their RB room. So with him on the outs in Washington, Miami, thin at running back, we'll talk about it here in a second, it makes sense for the Dolphins to trade for the former third-round pick. Pin comment on today's show. Should Miami trade for Brian Robinson Jr.? I will be in the comments looking at what y'all have to say. So scroll down, let the ad break play, and answer today's question. To me, as I just mentioned, I think it would be an extremely smart move, and I think it's a no-brainer for the Miami Dolphins. I thought it was a smart decision for Miami to think about a Brian Robinson trade earlier this week because we know Alexander Mattison is out for the year. You signed him in free agency to be your short yardage back. And yes, Ollie Gordon has looked terrific in the preseason to this point, but I would like a veteran to be that goal line and short yardage guy in the middle of the field. Well, no Mattison, we don't really have a certified guy. Well, then you factor in Jaylen Wright getting hurt on Thursday's joint practice against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he walked off the field in the middle of practice slowly with an apparent lower body injury. He was walking gingerly, and then Ollie Gordon took a bunch of the first-team snaps. This just continues to concern me with this running back room and its depth. Coming into training camp, I thought Miami's running back room was its biggest strength. I thought Mattison, Achane, Wright, and Gordon was as good as it gets. But we've just been dropping like flies. De'Von Achane has his calf injury that's keeping him out until maybe the regular season. I hope he'll be able to go week 1. There's no guarantee there. Jaylen Wright's banged up. Can't really trust Ollie Gordon, Aaron Shamklin, and Mike Boone. We already mentioned that Madison's out for the year. So when you start to just dwindle down these running backs on the depth chart, it gets more and more scary. And the reason why I'm really pining for this trade is that calf injury with De'Von Achane. Calf injuries cannot be played with. You see it in the NBA all the time. If you play a guy through a calf injury and it's not fully healed, more times than not, it will result in a torn Achilles. We see it in the NBA all the time. Halliburton, DeMarcus Cousins, Kevin Durant. We've seen it in the NFL as well. If you try to play with a weak calf, because that calf is so weak, you put so much strain on your Achilles, snap. And then you're done for the year, and it changes the course of your career as well. Jaylen Wright's been bad. Now he's hurt. I'm sorry, as much as I like Ollie Gordon, you simply can't rely on a rookie 6th-round pick to come in and be the bell cow back for all 3 downs for a football team that has a very elaborate and intricate scheme and playbook. And with Brian Robinson Jr. not being in Washington, it is so confirmed, more than you can confirm anything in life, that he won't be playing for the Commanders this year. So he's there for the taking. Go out and grab him. I mentioned it earlier. He had the most efficient year of his career this past season, averaging 4.3 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. He was the best version of himself this past season. Now, maybe that's because he was working in tandem with Austin Eckler, first time he's had a real solid back to work with. Maybe it's because a mobile quarterback, Jane Daniels, relieved some pressure on the running backs because there was a threat of the QB running. However you want to spin it, the best season of his career was last year. Do I think he's going to be just as good as he was last season for Miami? That is up for conversation. But there's, without a doubt, he would be the second best running back on Miami. So even if you give De'Von Achane some time, or he's just fully healthy for week 1, an Achane Brian Robinson Jr. 1-2 punch would significantly be better than a Achane Wright 1-2 punch or a Achane Ali Gordon 1-2 punch. So the upgrade, and then you factor in how cheap it would be to acquire him, it makes a lot of sense for Miami. And if the Dolphins do make a trade for Brian Robinson Jr., we will make a video and have you covered. So subscribe to the channel today. We have daily coverage of the Miami Dolphins, so don't miss out. We're a family here at Dolphins Today. Although I do believe Brian Robinson Jr. is a clear upgraded RB2 and would be a great, off speed, if you will, to Achane. Achane's the fastball. He runs that quick 40. Robinson's the little changeup that knocks your knees down. Yeah, he's not an explosive runner. That's not his strong suit. Out of the 50 qualified running backs last year, that he didn't finish well. He ranked in the bottom half in yards per carry, explosive run rate, stuff rate. And he ranked 44th out of 50 running backs with a 34% rate of rushes going for 1 or 4 fewer yards. I will mention, the Commanders didn't have the best offensive line, so you could put a little of the blame on their shoulders, but it is also on him slightly. But the point is this. I'm not asking Brian Robinson Jr. to consistently rip off 8-yard runs or more. Are they very welcomed? Yes, they are. If I bring in Brian Robinson Jr., how am I going to use him? I'm going to use him on 3rd and 1. I am going to use him on 2nd and 3. I'm going to use him 1st and goal inside the 5. 2nd and goal inside the 3. 3rd and goal at the 1. 4th and goal at the 1. That is how you use Brian Robinson Jr. He would just be a better version of what you envisioned for Alexander Mattison this past year before he got hurt for the season. Whatever role you plan for Mattison, Robinson Jr. would do it and do it better. Last season, he converted 26 of 38. This is actually, not last season, his career. 3rd and 1 to 3 yard rush attempts. That's a pretty good number, especially when most teams know you're going to run the football in those situations. Now, Miami, they don't run the football in those situations all the time, and it drives us up a wall. But Brian Robinson Jr. would be a severe upgrade in that short yardage 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 situation than what you have. And I like Ali Gordon. I like his upside, but it's hard for me to project he's going to be able to take over that role and run away with it in his rookie season. Coming up in just 1 second, I'm going to take a look at what a Brian Robinson trade could look like if Miami ultimately executes one. But before we get into that, shout out to PrizePicks, the sponsor on this episode of Dolphins Today by Chat Sports, the daily fantasy sports platform I'm on every single day. It's so easy. All you do is pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, pick more or less. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. It's available to play in 40 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. PrizePicks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. It's the easiest way to win real money this football season. If you know ball, well, take advantage. I do, so I'm going to be taking advantage this week in preseason. Less than Joe Milton passing yards, he stinks. More than Iomanor, the Stanford wide receiver on the Titans, 19.5 receiving yards, I'll take the more. And then the player that is replacing Brian Robinson Jr., for a good reason, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I'll take the more than on his 26.5 rushing yards for the Commanders. You can join me and the millions of others. Take my picks, fade my picks. Either way, download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Links in the description and comments of today's video. PrizePicks. Run your game. Let's transition into what a trade and transaction could look like for the Miami Dolphins if they acquired Brian Robinson Jr. We talked about it on our video Tuesday morning. It would not cost you a lot. I talked to Commanders host Jack Sperry about the trade value. It is at best a 7th-round pick, and the Commanders are just hoping a team throws a pick at him, or at them, I should say, to acquire him. If not, they're probably just going to end up cutting him, and then it's up to a waiver claim where a team like the Titans, who have the number 1 spot, can just easily grab him. So if you are someone who wants Miami to grab him without having to take it to waivers, here is the trade that I would likely see happening. A pick swap. The Dolphins give up a 6th to get Brian Robinson Jr. and a 7th. The pick is being 2027 that goes to Washington. Miami does not have their 6th rounder this year. And then the Dolphins get back a 7th rounder in this year alongside Brian Robinson Jr. It is pick swap season, folks. We saw it earlier in this week. Trades that happen with players on the roster bubble that other teams kind of circle and highlight as guys that we want on our team, but we don't want to risk them getting cut and then claimed by a different team. Well, the easiest way to do it, send a 6, get a 7th back and the player. That is how these trades usually work. You saw it with Sky Moore going to the 49ers from the Chiefs. You saw it with a couple defensive tackles that the Vikings traded, the Browns traded, the Jets traded, the pick swaps. It just happens this time of year. And that's what the trade value would be. And that's why I'm in. It's cheap and it's an upgrade. I do not have a lot of confidence in Jaylen Wright. I did going into this year. I liked what I saw in the preseason last year from JW. I liked what I saw in a couple regular season games, specifically that game against New England in Week 5. But he has not looked good whatsoever in the first 2 preseason games. He's now banged up. Achane's dealing with a calf injury. Why not acquire a guy who has been an RB1 in the past, can take on that mantle while Achane is fully recovering. And then when Achane comes back, you have an excellent 1-2 punch of speed and finesse and physicality. It just makes too much sense. And I'll say this, though, folks, and we're going to round out the show here. If Brian Robinson Jr. ultimately gets traded to a different football team that isn't the Miami Dolphins, but Miami still looks to potentially add a running back, keep an eye on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that was just in Miami for joint practice on Thursday, and the team that the Dolphins finalized their preseason schedule with on Saturday night. Why do I say keep an eye on Jacksonville? Liam Cohen already admitted that it is going to be near impossible for the Jaguars to keep 4 running backs and have them all be active on game days. They have an interesting running back room. The former first-round pick, Travis Etienne, a solid backup that played really well as a rookie last season, Tank Bigsby. They've got a really good mid-round rookie out of Virginia Tech, Bichelle Tutton, I think it is, actually. And then LaQuint Allen Jr., who they really like as a pass-protecting kind of running back. Well, here's the thing. Could Bigsby be on the outs? Could Etienne be on the outs? If it's one of those two, and you catch wind that either Tank Bigsby or Etienne could be traded, I would absolutely be in on that. Now, Etienne's more of the Achane mold, a little bit smaller, pass-catching type back. Bigsby's more of a physical, kind of first and second down guy. So it would be interesting to see which one could be on the block. I also mentioned an article came out on Thursday morning from CBS Sports. Cody Benjamin had 5 running backs that could be traded and predicted their landing spot. Cody Benjamin predicted Etienne gets traded to the Miami Dolphins. Just something to keep an eye on. Not suggesting it. I would still probably rather grab the cheap Brian Robinson Jr., but just keep an eye. And we'll have the eye for everything Miami Dolphins. So hit that sub button. Lock us in for daily coverage. We'll also be live on Saturday evening for the preseason finale for Miami. So make sure you subscribe and join us then.